My name is Yazmin Castillo, and I am a first-generation American. Currently, I work on the development team at Girls Inc. of Metro Denver. I've been in this role for about going on 2 years, but I've been involved with the organization for, I think, almost 10 years. When I first moved to Denver in 2015, I started as a volunteer with Girls Inc. I've always been involved with youth and in mentoring programs, and so wanted to find that here in Denver, and especially with young girls. And so I started out as a volunteer, and then throughout the years just wore many hats from mentor to lead to managing the volunteer program. When I first came to the organization, it was the first time that I vividly remember seeing somebody who looked like me in a CEO and leadership position. At the time, the CEO was Sonia Olibari, which is a powerhouse of a leader, and she was the first woman in that role that I felt represented by, and it changed things for me. It's like for the first time I could see myself in leadership, and I just loved the space. It was empowering and supportive, and just being around the girls and the women in an all girl and women centered space. Because I mean, we hear it all the time, representation matters. Who we see is who we believe we can be. The opportunities that I thought were like available to me or possible for me were limited, and I grew up in a small town. My dad was a landscaper and my mom cleaned houses. There's this funny comedian that always says being a daughter of immigrants is your parents, it's like you're a doctor, lawyer, engineer, or failure, because those are the careers that you know to be as successful. Little do you know that there's so many other possibilities out there. And so at Girls Inc., one of the biggest things is that exploration of what is possible is very intentional in what we do our programming around, from career exploration and college and everything, and to make sure intentionally that it is women that look like them. It's very different when you see somebody who looks like you or speaks like you or comes from a similar background, that makes that click and that connection where it's like, oh, I can do that too. One of the biggest aspects of being a daughter of immigrants is your work ethic, and that just innate resourcefulness and compassion, empathy for navigating the world. I think through just the intersections of my identity, it has given me a different perspective for how to just think through challenges. And I think especially be compassionate to people's stories, especially as women and women of color. The imposter syndrome is real, of wondering that little voice in the back of your head that's continuously do I belong here, and having to remind yourself and stand in it that I do belong here and I've earned this and I deserve to be here as much as anybody else. I think for me as a Latina, getting paid 51 cents to the dollar of a white man is that I have to work twice as hard to get half as much. That is also the conversation that needs to happen, and not just empowering and building confidence within girls and women. Being first generation and going through school, and something that I always continuously had 1 to 2 jobs in order to get through. It always came with something had to be sacrificed. It was a constant balance of doing good professionally or socially, but then also being there for my family. I'm very focused on my career, and I'm very happy being focused on my career, but I know that I want kids in the future. But I know that if I have children now, I kind of have to sacrifice being able to pursue, having the flexibility to be all in my career. And sometimes it's hard to do that when you have all these societal pressures. I think we are starting to see more women that it is okay to have, children later in life and focus on your career. There are a lot of professional and amazing women that are around me now who that is what they chose, and it's really comforting to see that. The other scary thing for me is as I think about having kids in the future is the cost of childcare. I have friends now that have like little ones, and they, like, the cost of childcare is somebody's entire like annual salary. I know when you're talking about women that, you know, you look up to, and I think especially as you progress in your career, is you have to, like, it is a responsibility to intentionally then, you know, bring people up with you, especially women of color, bringing them into this like unspoken knowledge of, yeah, advocating for pay and negotiating and asking for a promotion, and how to navigate those conversations to be that person that brings people up with you. The sacrifice, as much as like my parents have done in order to get me here, like this is what I'm doing to, you know, continue that, building a better life for all of us.